So this is our second session, and in the first session we spent a bit of time orienting ourselves in the subject matter as to why we're studying what we're studying in this class and how we will approach our subject matter. And then second part of our session we spent together figuring out the issue that has for as long as I've taught this course from the start informed or shaped or puzzled or haunted the discussions in the class, namely the relationship between religious exclusivism and the kind of social plurality or possibly pluralism as a political project that seems required by globalization processes. We've tried to shed some light in this, and I hopefully will continue that discussion as the semester goes on. Now, today is a designated session for religion. The next session will be for globalization. The two of them are studied here together, so that's roughly the plan for the next two sessions. And the heading for our session today is that of secularization. I think secularization as well as kind of the obverse of secularization, namely resurgence of religion. So what we are interested in particular is to look at what's happening in the context of globalization within the world of religions or within the world of faiths. And obviously one topic to discuss and to look at is the question of possible secularization, partly because there has been a long-standing tendency to associate modernity with secularization, and especially folks who think that globalization is simply extension of modernity onto the whole of the globe, often then associate globalization processes themselves with secularization. And so this would be our question, and to try to figure out what is happening in the context of globalization with the world of faiths. And it's not just a question of resurgence versus secularization or demise, but it's also a question of transformation of religions, possibly, within the context of globalization. I think what we'll keep our eye on, maybe not in this session, but as we go along, is also what have been responses of various religions and religious communities to globalization processes. And you can have those responses kind of cataloged and mapped all the way from a whole-scale rejection of globalization as profoundly anti-religious or subverting some of the most cherished convictions of religious communities. And you have these kinds of responses in different communities, certainly in some Christian communities, as well as in Muslim communities and in others as well, to all the way to the idea, especially within the Christian tradition, that somehow globalization is a product of, is the fruit of, a very fine fruit of, some would say, of Christianity itself. And then, of course, much of it falls in between these two, kind of differentiated acceptance or rejections of various elements of globalization processes. We won't have so much time during this session to discuss this, although maybe in discussion, if some of you are interested in that, we can raise those questions. Also, a topic that's going to be of some interest to us for this session was we have assigned to your readings that at least two of those have a discussion of what was described as multiple modernities. Basically, the idea that there's not single way to modernize, and especially in relationship to religion, but also that there are multiple ways in which modernity has been lived out depending on cultural circumstances, and those cultural circumstances have often been shaped by religions. Now, something analogous can be also said about globalization itself, that there may not be a single way to globalize, but that globalization itself as a single process refracts itself, expresses itself in various localities in a very much different ways, partly depending on the local culture, and that those local cultures are often shaped by religious communities. That's going to be also another subject, another way in which we might access the relationship between faith and globalization, and that would be the question of how do faiths in fact then influence or shape, provide conditions for globalization processes. As you see from the comments that I've made so far, it's both asking, well, how does globalization impact the world of religion, both in terms of its resurgence possible or demise as well as transformation, and how the world of religions might impact globalization processes. Now, that's just to orient us in this subject matter. I think for the content of the material, I wouldn't presume to speak here with Jose present, so I want to invite Jose Casanova, again, one of the not just great sociologists of religion, but great conversationalists and great public speakers. So it's wonderful to have Jose again here with us. Please.